Sixers fans, lots to talk about today. Lots to talk about. All right, we're going to get right into it. Give me 1 million likes on the video. Subscribe to the channel. We're approaching 27,000 subscribers. I'm going to try to keep this video under 20 minutes. Thanks for being here. Let's just get started, okay? First of all, this. The Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Shout out to the Birds. Hopefully the referees don't screw us over this time and we can finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Jeffery Lurie, the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, is in the mix to buy the Boston Celtics. If you guys remember this past offseason when the Boston Celtics signed everybody to massive contracts and went way over the luxury tax, they also planned to sell the team, which was a ballsy move. Jeffery Lurie's in the mix. Jeffery Lurie purchasing the Boston Celtics could be the death of the 76ers for a long time. Because what Jeffery Lurie did with the Eagles when he purchased them in the 90s was make them a contender for 25 straight years because of the coaches he hires and the GMs that he hires. If he does the same with the Boston Celtics, who are already dominant, we're never getting there. Especially because Josh Harris, who owns the Commanders, who just lost last night, owns the 76ers. So Josh Harris remains a loser. Jeffery Lurie is a winner. And the Boston Celtics are winners. The Sixers are losers. And that could continue for a long time. So there's that anyway. Give me your thoughts on that. Let's get into the Sixers news, man. Joel Embiid has been ruled out for Tuesday's game versus the Lakers and Wednesday's game versus the Kings. Now, there was this whole thing where it's like, oh, Joel could come back this week. You know, this knee swelling is getting better or whatever. We're still here. He's still ruled out for the next 2 games. This is a back-to-back Tuesday and Wednesday against the Lakers and the Kings before the Sixers play the Denver Nuggets on Friday. We'll see if Joel Embiid's available for that game. They are on a little bit of a winning streak. It would have been nice to get him back and maybe him and Paul George and continue this little winning streak. But, you know, we'll see. But Joel Embiid's ruled out for the next 2 days. Now, this is what the internet's freaking out about. That happened today. Joel Embiid, who was just ruled out for the next 2 games, is at practice jumping around and doing handstands. Bruh. All right, so, okay, maybe we can look at this in a positive light. His knee looks pretty good, right? If he's out there jumping, doing handstands, then his knee's feeling good, and we should be happy about that. That means he could get on the court soon, right? Do I think the optics are good that you just got ruled out for the next 2 games and you're doing handstands at practice? No, I don't think that. But I'm not freaking out about it like other Sixers fans are freaking out about it. If they cleared him to practice and he's feeling pretty good, he's allowed to do handstands, I guess. I don't know why he's ruled out for the next 2 games, though. If you're cleared to practice and you're good enough, you're feeling good enough to do a fucking handstand, then play the damn game. You're telling me you can do a goddamn cartwheel, but you can't play 30 minutes of basketball? You can't play 20 minutes? Why isn't he out there on a minutes restriction? Anyway, there's that. We got some Paul George stuff to talk about, and we're going to get into the Guerschon Yabusele rumor and the Caleb Martin rumor also. Here's the Paul George update. After, he left the last game with a pinky injury and didn't return, something I've never seen before in my life. Every NBA player I've ever watched would strap that thing up and continue to play the game, but he's probably, negative 1% Mamba mentality. Yeah, speaking of Mamba mentality, there's Kobe, man. R.I.P. Sixers forward Paul George didn't practice today and will miss tomorrow's game against the Lakers. His MRI and ultrasound are being reviewed. He had an ultrasound on his finger. That just sounds soft. Meanwhile, center Joel Embiid was partial. We knew that. Now, here's the thing. Here's Paul George after the Eagles' victory last night, driving through Philly, and somebody was taking videos of him. There was a girl screaming, "I love you." Not sure if that was one of his stripper wives or not, but driving through Philly, somebody snapped a picture or took a video, and yes, he has a brace on his pinky. And so he couldn't come back in the game last game because he hurt his pinky, and now he's ruled out for the next game because of his pinky. This is actually what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This guy hyperextended his knee in preseason, missed the start of the season, came back, hyperextended his knee again, right? Then he missed games back to back with a sore ankle. Then he missed a couple games with a strained groin, and now he has a hurt pinky. Paul George has lived up to the expectations set by Clippers fans who told me this guy is soft and will not be durable or will not be reliable. I mean, damn, bro. He's been injured 6 times already in the first 40 games of his contract, and he's signed for 4 years. But anyway, there's Paul George and his pinky brace. Okay. I don't even know what to say anymore, man. I don't know, dude. This team is just, it's pretty funny at this point. Let's get into the actual news leading up to the trade deadline that has to do with the players that actually get on the court and play for the Philadelphia 76ers, not the ones that are being paid $100, $200, $300 million to sit at home or to drive a Lamborghini through the Philadelphia Eagles crowd. This came out just yesterday or the day before, and I wanted to talk about it because here it is. This is what I said. You know what I mean? This is what I said. What I've been saying the past couple of shows. Daryl Mo is going to try to win. It doesn't matter if we think they're so bad that they should be tanking. It doesn't matter if we think they should be sellers at the trade deadline. This guy has a reputation and an ego, and he's not about to tank after signing those guys to those massive contracts. Him and Nick Nurse are going to use the injuries as reasons they didn't succeed this year, and they're going to go into next season and try again. That's what has to happen because they already signed the contracts. But this is what Daryl Morey's going to do at the trade deadline. It doesn't matter if we agree with it or not. He's going to try to win. The Sixers remain committed to waiting things out, despite potentially owing their first-round pick this year to the Thunder. By the way, they can't trade back for that pick because it's been traded in potential pick swaps with some other teams. So, I mean, the only thing that they can do to get that pick is to get into the top 6 in the lottery. They're committed to waiting things out. The Sixers are committed to waiting things out, committed to waiting for Embiid to get back on the court, committed to this iteration of the process with Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, along with the vets who have struggled to hold up their end of the bargain. The vets talking about Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson, and Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's been pretty good lately the past couple of games. Reggie Jackson hasn't been horrible. Kyle Lowry just should absolutely be retired by now. It's a joke at this point. He's embarrassing himself. But there you have it. Daryl Morey's not going to sell at the trade deadline. He's not going to try to trade everybody, every day. People are in the comments. We should trade Embiid. We should trade PG. We should get off these contracts no matter. It doesn't matter what you think. They're not going to do that. This is what they're going to do. And they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline. And here's the guys that they could trade. Number 1, Caleb Martin. There's been some talk around the league about the Sixers becoming sellers at the February 6th trade deadline. I don't think you have to be considered sellers to trade Caleb Martin because the Sixers have looked pretty good recently with, Justin Edwards on the floor and Ricky Council. And Caleb Martin's been out with a mysterious hip injury now for what feels like a month. So I think you could trade Caleb Martin and not be considered a seller. But Kelly Oubre, Caleb Martin, and KJ Martin. Philadelphia is currently $10 million over the tax line and will pay close to $17 million in taxes if they don't shed salary. There has been some talk of the 76ers being sellers, specifically regarding Kelly Oubre, Caleb Martin, and KJ Martin. Plenty of teams would have serious interest in Caleb if the 76ers are willing to move him. I don't think they're going to trade Caleb Martin because I think Daryl Mo is going to still try to win with this team this season. And if Daryl Mo, Nick Nurse, and everybody thinks, hey, we sneak into the first round, if we sneak into the play-in tournament, we get Joel Embiid back, right? You're going to want playoff-tested veterans like Caleb Martin on your team if he ever gets his hip right or whatever it is. So I don't really know. Now that I think about it, I go back and forth, but I don't think the Sixers are going to trade Caleb Martin because I think the front office believes they can get everybody together and make some noise in the playoffs, and you would want a player like Caleb Martin on your team in the playoffs. I think they're going to trade KJ. And here's the next thing that people are a little bit up in arms about. The Sixers have already received multiple trade offers from playoff-bound teams for Guerschon Yabusele. The Sixers, I'm told, love Guerschon Yabusele. League sources say that Philadelphia has already received multiple trade offers from playoff-bound teams for Yabusele. The belief is that the Sixers want to gauge results over the next week plus before firming up their trade deadline approach. Now, here's the thing with Guerschon Yabusele. Much like Caleb Martin, if you feel like you can make a run and you feel like you could get into the play-in tournament and finally have Joel Embiid healthy and Paul George doesn't injure a pinky finger or strain his taint, you would want all of the guys like Caleb Martin and Guerschon Yabusele, etc., to give you the best chance to pull off an upset in the first round if you end up playing the Boston Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think right now the Cleveland Cavaliers look the most vulnerable to us. We almost beat them with Jared McCain a month ago, and now we upset them the other night. So you would want all these guys to remain. The problem with the Guerschon Yabusele thing is that Guerschon Yabusele is on a 1-year deal after being bought out from the Euro League, where it cost him personally almost $1 million out of his pocket. Essentially, he took a gamble on himself to secure himself a long-term NBA contract worth more money than he's ever been paid in his entire life. And that's what he's going to get. And it's going to be more money than the 76ers can afford next season. The 76ers will not have the amount of cap space for just to sign Guerschon. Because of the Paul George contract, the Tyrese Maxey max contract, and the Joel Embiid extension, they're absolutely strapped. He's going to get $25 million a year. And they absolutely do not have the space to pay him that. He might get 30 in this NBA ecosystem in 2025. He might get 30. He might get 40. Because he just looks like an absolute dog, an absolute warrior, a great stretch four, a hustle guy. He can shoot the three at a great percentage for his size and his position. He's a prototypical, literally perfect stretch four in today's NBA. He's going to get paid, and the Sixers aren't going to be able to pay it, which is the only reason you could see the Sixers trading him, because they could potentially get a first-round pick, maybe even, for Guerschon Yabusele. Maybe their price could be multiple first-round picks, or at least protected first-round picks, something like that. But again, I don't think the Sixers are going to be sellers at the deadline. I think Daryl Mo has no choice but to believe in what he did this past offseason. And they're going to be buyers at the trade deadline. I could see a Kelly Oubre trade because the redundancy maybe with Caleb Martin if Caleb Martin ever gets healthy. I definitely see a KJ Martin trade. I might see an Andre Drummond trade because I think right now Adem Bona looks like a better option at backup center than Andre Drummond did the whole season. But I don't think I actually see a Caleb Martin or a Guerschon Yabusele trade. Maybe I do see a Caleb Martin trade if the Sixers feel like they have to decide between Kelly Oubre and Caleb Martin. But the emergence of Justin Edwards changes a lot of this stuff. The emergence of Adem Bona changes a lot of this stuff. But I specifically on Guerschon Yabusele, I see the 76ers probably seeing it through and trying to win something this year and him walking in the offseason versus trading him for some future assets and not having him for the potential playoff run coming up. I think I covered everything I want to cover, man. again, shout out to the Eagles for getting back to the Super Bowl. We got the Chiefs again. Shout out to everybody that rocks with me on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere else for just my NFL conversational stuff. But the Philadelphia 76ers, there's going to be some things coming up around the trade deadline. And we'll see, the team is going to change a little bit. And it's I think it's just interesting to think about, what they're going to look like on February 7th. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.